GM, give me just a second, y'all. Sorry for the slight delay. This secondary phone always gives me issues, man, every time that I try to start this up. So we're up and running, though. And we are back for the 69th consecutive episode of Wonky Weekly Alpha. Nice. So we are here, episode 69. Excited to get rolling here in just a second. Going to go ahead and tweet this out. Rooster, welcome back, my man. How are you today?
Doing well, sir. I've actually been spending my morning conversing with Kaleo Private, so it's been fun and entertaining.
Oh, with Kaleo Private. Tell me more.
Yeah. There's a new Kaleo account that I guess is like following people that retweet your tweets. So I sent him a DM. I was like, no way, the real Kaleo? And then just started it from there. I first started on just trying to do a very long, drawn out, like these nuts joke, right? Like something similar in that sense. But he's just like too dumb and like won't go for it. And then I've offered to send him like I'm like, I don't want to do any program or whatever. Can I just send you some ETH and you send me back profits? And he like won't accept that for some reason. I've
What?
tried. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is the stupidest scammer. I sent some of the screenshots in the Citadel chat.
So
But he like,
what's his like MO? What's he trying to do here?
let me he okay. He wants me to copy trade him. That's what I'm trying to figure out what his scam is because he won't accept free money, and he's like, this is what he sent me. It's like, I will be a big part of your trading journey. First, I'll break down how I'm going to assist. You will copy my trades and trade it exactly how I give them to you, and it's going to fit into your schedule, so you don't have to bother looking at the computer screen every time for charts because you won't be needing all that. I'm already doing all that by myself. But you could learn better from my trades and you can do it all by yourself very soon without stress. Also, I'll introduce you to compatible brokerage exchange with my trading strategy because you'd be able to execute trades on with as not so many other brokers are compatible with this strategy. Not sure what that part means.
With some not many.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
With as not so. With as not so is what he said.
No.
So
Okay.
you will just have to take it slowly and follow my instructions to completely understand how this all works. And like I was just like, I just want to send you ETH and you send me back profits. And he won't accept. He's like, no, you don't send me anything. So this is like he won't fall for like the Salcon these nuts joke. Like he's too stupid to fall for that. He's too stupid to accept free money. So like I don't know. What I was gonna try and do is say I was gonna send him like 5 ETH or whatever, but I needed gas fees to unstake my ETH to send it to him, and then have him send me like $20. That was my strategy.
Man, dude, the thing is, it's frustrating about those type of accounts for me. One, like the majority of them are pretty low tier effort, kind of like what you're running into right now, where they're pretty obvious scams, right? So, like, thankfully, the majority of people aren't going to fall for that type of stuff. But it's frustrating for me on the other side because Twitter still has it to where people that block you can still interact with your content. So there will be these accounts that go out and tweet, retweet, and do all this stuff to completely impersonate you. And it should be as easy as you going to your notifications feed and seeing so and so retweeted you. And you're like, oh, they've got my same PFP. Oh, they've got my same name. Scammer. I should probably block and report them. But because Twitter has it to where you can't see notifications from somebody that blocked you, you know, you can't go in there and just automatically clean them up off their feed or off your feed. So,
yeah, that's pretty stupid. But I mean, Twitter has been doing its own thing for the past little bit, but they have increased the cap of the group chats by another 25. So the cap has risen from 75 to 100, which is a step in the right direction. One of the
it
major
is.
things people were looking for. They said continue to increase in the near future. So hopefully it gets bumped up to like 200 or 250, probably somewhere around there. That'd be nice. It'd be a shit show. I mean, my phone's already blowing up literally every second of the day just because of Twitter chats and stuff. Like, it does not stop vibrating. And then, I ran into the issue like a month or two ago where I muted like all my Twitter chats just because. And then I missed like the Pepe call. I missed like so many other things just because I had it muted and I wasn't getting the notifications. I was like, oh, God damn it, this is the world we live in now.
No, man. I mean, it is the truth, though. It's one of those catch-22s where sometimes you have to be there in the know to be able to figure something else out like that. It's the same thing with like my group chat text messages. I will sit there and like a couple weeks ago, I had a group chat that I was in. Dude, I woke up at 2:30 a.m. where my phone was just buzzing left, right. And I was like, what the hell is this? So I go and mute it. And of course, like that whole group is doing something pretty cool this weekend. And I was like, what the hell are y'all doing? And they're like, well, we talked about it in the group chat. And it's because I sat there and muted it and I haven't checked the messages on it all week. And I didn't see what was going on. So, it's like one of those catch-22s where sometimes, the nuisance is worth it to be able to keep around for those type of opportunities.
Yeah, it's like fucking insurance. You don't need it when you have it, and as soon as you don't get it, that's when you need it.
No, exactly. So I don't know, man, but pretty interesting stuff across the space the past couple days. Like pretty insane sales with that Sotheby's auction yesterday. So, that was in the generative art world primarily, right? So, you're looking at it, which, dude, the thing is though, like 6529 is a guy I've never been able to figure out. Like a guy / group of people, right? He just doesn't seem real. I'm like wondering in the back of my head, who is this fund that is behind this account that is driving this type of price action in the market where, it's a little bit stagnant / has been for a while. And then just boom, dude, dishes out randomly thousands and thousands of ETH. Hyped about it. Like it's pretty cool, for the entire market as a whole. But at the same time, where does this guy come from? Who the hell is he?
So I think the way, and I could be wrong here, B-Ways is and Crow are the 6529 guys. Coincidentally, right, as BT always says, who is B-Ways as well. I don't know if there could be a connection there. If we don't know either of them. But anyways, I'm not too entirely sure, but I think people attributed the first ever, GM in the crypto space to him. So like, and that's like, that was one of the first meme
Which is
cards or
not
whatever.
true.
Yeah. Well, right.
Like we were GMing way before that account was created.
Right. But like, he ended up claiming the title, and enough people supported it, I guess, to spark it. And then, through a bunch of collaborations, he's probably gained more fame. I don't own any of the memes by 6529, but I have looked into it a couple times. But I did miss the auction yesterday. Was there like a crazy piece by his that went for an insane amount?
Well, no. So these weren't his pieces that were up for sale, right? Like for instance, he won the goose, which is a ringer's piece. And he spent about like 6.4 mil on it, which way exceeded any expectations. It was both a record ETH and record USD sale. And there were a lot of people that were saying, well, like maybe it breaks the previous ETH sale, but like no way in hell that it touches the, previous USD valuation. And it just, blew away both. So, and it was acquired by, 6529. And
I mean, I can see where he gets the money. Like he drops the equivalent of like a 10K project every month. Just I mean, I'm pulling that out of my ass, but like just from what I've seen on Twitter, whenever he releases collections, the mint is like 0.07 ETH or something for 1,000 pieces. He drops like 10 pieces or so at a time per month. It's roughly like a 10,000 piece project for 0.07. It's been they're already on season 2, maybe 3 or something. I don't know. But I can see where he gets the money. Like he just has people pulling in, these constant mints that he releases every month or so.
Hey, that might be a decent point. I've honestly never really looked and seen how much he's pulled in from it all, but one, I know it did a decent amount of volume, kind of pre royalty strip, and then two, like you said, there's enough popularity behind the collections as a whole. A lot of those are basically open editions that he has with, I don't want to say open editions, but they're edition type work, right? They're closed editions might be a better way of saying it. And he has X amount of pieces with it. And I've never done the full math on what he's minted out from that. But I always thought that also, aside from just, having extra capital to spend right now, like he had a decent amount whenever he entered into the space kind of as a nobody as well, right? So it wasn't just one of those things where like this is all new money and you can easily trace it back and say, oh yeah, like that's X amount of dollars that's being spent from the mint. I think that's one of the things that intrigues me the most about him, is just that he was kind of this anon that stepped onto the scene that had a bunch of different profound takes that immediately kind of the NFT community rallied around. But at the same time, also the NFT community rallies around a lot of people whenever they end up flexing a lot of ETH. So I think that was one of the things that also drove a large part of the popularity behind him, was kind of the 6529 museum and a bunch of the higher end pieces, the grails that he ended up collecting into that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pay like that close attention to people to like be able to make any other assumptions about like where he came and with how much money. I have honestly no idea. Um, but yeah, no, I do respect the hustle. I have listened to a couple shills of his, and I do like some of the pieces, and there are some cool collaborations that he has done. I haven't picked up any yet. I'm kind of reevaluating a strategy at the moment, anyways, and trying to piece together what personally I want my next move to be. So I'm not honestly looking too deep into anything new at the moment, and honestly might be scaling down some of my current positions just to have some extra sideline capital to hopefully catch a forever long, or not forever, but to hold throughout the next bull market here within the next few months or so. There could be the opportunity for that, and I may just be wanting to strike.
Yeah, man. So I mean, I feel that too. I think it's one of those things where right now, it's still all about just like I shared that tweet earlier about 2 days ago now, I guess, about my 40K prediction being wrong, which, like Lord willing that it's the thing that bottom ticks it, and somehow that, the market ends up driving up to 40K directly from there, like God willing. But, let's say it doesn't. There were a lot of people that I think misinterpreted it, because it's one of those things where if you want any tweet to do well, you kind of put a little bit of a catchy headline right there at the beginning of it that like draws a lot of people, a lot of, if that's the only thing they read, that they're like, oh shit, one way or the other, and it like kind of catches their eye to read the rest of the tweet. So that's why I started out with saying, oh, my 40K prediction, whatever, was wrong. Here's why. And if you dive into it, it's not one of those things where it's like this giga bearish tweet, right? Like I'm not saying, oh, we're going to be capo and we're going to go straight down to 12K. It was more just one of those things that's like, hey, like honestly, I just see like the likelihood of more sideways for, an extended period of time being the most likely option. So it's not one of those things where I'm not in a rush to sit there and say, hey, you should be like aping into whatever position, leverage logging, BTC, ETH, this, that, whatever, being in any type of rush to accumulate, but kind of having a higher time frame mindset, I think is just was really the key message from that, right? But simultaneously, there were a lot of people that were like, man, Kaleo flipped extremely bearish here. And again, like, dude, it's not one of those things where it's me flipping bearish. It's just me flipping like, okay, honestly, I'm not sitting here trying to get chopped to pieces across this range. Dude, just stack your shit, don't short and be patient. Whenever the market conditions are right, you can put your foot back on the gas. But like until that really shows that, there's no rush, right? Look for the high conviction plays, stack slowly, and have that type of mindset. I think that's the key thing where we are right now, along the lines of what you were saying with just consolidating, having some capital ready to deploy.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues, especially with like the internet and social media, is it's unfortunately not uncommon practice for people to, take people's words out of context, twist them a little bit to form their own type of narrative for clickbait, to, farm some engagement. Like it's becoming more and more and more common. And you're like, it's almost getting to the point where you can't say, like, anybody with any type of following can't make any single type of statement without someone, at least one person, trying to twist it or flip the point of view, or doing something just to get a little bit of engagement. Like it's wild.
I think the reason being for that is people like some type of controversy. That's why the polarizing takes are always the most viral takes, right? Whenever you're attacking somebody, supporting something that's a little bit controversial, saying something that's a little bit edgy, you're going to see that type of stuff pop up the most on the feed because the most people are triggered by it, right? Like if it's something that incites some type of response, then it's going to get more engagement and that means more eyes. So what does that mean? It reinforces that behavior for other people that are like, well, how do I get seen? Well, you have to be edgy. So, yeah, man, it's
Yeah,
just like,
like some are
it's not just
funny.
crypto Twitter; it's everywhere, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, and some are funny, and some make me laugh my ass off. Don't get me wrong. But like it's just getting to the point where it's like so constant, it's draining. Like just seeing people's reactions and like what they do to it. It's cringy, to be honest, and yeah, I don't think people get enough shame for how cringy stuff is now, like to where they did, back in the early 2000s or even before, I was able to remember like, mid 90s stuff. People don't get shamed for doing like stupid cringy stuff anymore. And it just like encourages more and more and more people to do like take it to the next level and do that. Like everybody's switching, worried about cancel culture rather than like, you know, I don't know. Different conversation, probably.
Yeah, man. So, but again, it's just the nature of the beast, right? Like people get popular on TikTok and those type of apps, same type of thing. It's where they get popular for calling out some type of influencer and for being the person that just continuously does it, for impersonating somebody else, for saying something about somebody. It's usually the negative type of content that like ends up ramping its way up to the top too. You even look at guys like, shill and villain, where he just completely rugged a project, and he still has people that are just sitting there in his back corner defending his decision. Like, you don't know the reason for why he just rugged. Like, I'm sure he's got something, great planned for this, for why he just took out. He's been talking about this meme coin that he launched and all of the different utility behind it, and he just completely rugged the liquidity and hasn't really responded to anything, but I'm sure it's for a great reason. And there are these people that are just brainwashed toward that somehow, right? And, what does this guy do? How did he make his name? A lot of it was from being that guy that's a little bit edgy, little bit, attacking everybody, kind of, not contributing a ton of positive stuff to the space, but a lot more of just controversial takes. And, gained a cult following from it that doesn't give a shit what he does.
You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see a Always Sunny in Philadelphia adaptation of like an episode the gang creates an NFT project, and because I feel like they could almost hit it spot on without even knowing too much about the space.
Bro, that would honestly be perfect. I mean, there's so many different things that I think a Black Mirror incorporation of some type of NFT project, adaptation would be crazy too. Where, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen all the different episodes that have been listed out there, but somehow you like actually become your PFP in the metaverse or something. And like, somebody like Joey Moose is just stuck as this, whatever penguin for the rest of his life in the metaverse because he would never sell his PFP. Something like that, I think, would be absolutely hilarious to be able to watch. But yeah, like, I don't know, seeing Joey forced the decision either sell this penguin or become this penguin, and he like decides to become the penguin and then regrets it. Like that could be the Black Mirror twist. I don't know, but there are a lot of opportunities here that I think are untapped.
They actually just released like a new season, 5 new episodes
Dude, I just watched
yesterday.
two of them.
Yeah,
Like,
I watched the first three yesterday with my girlfriend, and they're pretty good. Kind of fucked up a little bit, but that's what Black Mirror is. They're pretty good so far.
yeah, the first two were pretty good. Like, haven't finished the third yet. I got about 10 minutes into it, kind of ran out of time. But I will say, the first two, I agree, pretty solid. Like, I think the second one was a little bit better than the first, but they were completely different pace, different vibes. Um, but yeah, like, I didn't know if they were ever going to make any more Black Mirrors again, so that was a decent surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it took them like what 4 years now,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, something
and
like that.
I like that they're different stories. They're like little short movies, about an hour long or so. Because
Yeah,
I don't like new movies now. They take up way too much of your time. I don't want to put 2.5 hours aside to like sit down and watch the TV like at one time. I just can't do it. Um, so
the
yeah, I
worst.
appreciate it being much shorter, like a
What
mini movie.
What's even worse than that are all these series where you have like one really incredible season, and then they leave you on a cliffhanger for 2 years. You forget everything that's happened after the 2 years. They come out with another season. You're like, okay, like, let me watch this. You get into it, and it's just subpar. And then they leave you on another cliffhanger. And what you end up with is, two wasted seasons worth of watching whenever it finally happens, maybe more than that, because you had one incredible story there at the beginning that probably should have just been cut off and could have cleanly, right? But because, it's an opportunity to be some type of money extraction, they sit there and they leave it open ended instead. And it just completely kills the entire thing. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of anything that has like a limited series or anything else where what the commitment is going into it. Once you're done, you're out. And Black Mirror is the same type of thing. You're not going to get an extension of any of those types of episodes. The episode is what it is. It's done. You move on after.
Best series on Netflix, Ozark, without a doubt.
Yeah, I still haven't watched the last season, and I should, but same type of thing where it just drug out. And I liked the rest of them, but by the time it came out, I was like, dude, I kind of forget what happened. Do I want to watch like 4 or 5 other seasons worth to catch up again? I don't know. That's a lot of work. I guess I could just go to YouTube, but I'm not as into it as I was before. So it's just kind of like sat there on this proverbial cliff where I'm like, yeah, it's decent content. Could go back and get into it again, but I really just don't have the motivation.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of tripping on Ozark's name, though. It's a little blasphemous. It's worth a watch, I'd say, definitely.
So we got a couple other people up on stage. Son of Surge, welcome back, man. How's it going?
Hey, how we doing?
Oh, doing well, man. Another Friday, 69th in a row.
Love it. To what you guys saying about the shows, I thought Chernobyl was a good one because you knew what you was getting from the time you started the show, and it ended up being a good series. I like that one.
Yeah. Same type of thing. Limited series. You know what you're getting going into it. They're not going to come out with like a Chernobyl 2 and say, oh, well, actually, like XYZ happened at, like, it is what it is.
Yeah, Game of Thrones was so awesome, and then the last season was just was a real letdown to me.
Yeah, dude. I mean, heck, you could even, I guess, extract this over to some NFT collections where you're like, oh, I don't even want to sit here and bash anything, but like, Roosters. The Roosters collection was great. Everybody loved Roosters, but then all of a sudden, one day, price is already down X amount. Boom, you've got Space Roosters. And if you don't think Space Roosters are enough by themselves, guess what? There are now like these little space lizards that the Space Roosters discover, and that's another collection that you can mint. And you just go down the list, and it's like, well, shit, when does the season end? I liked season 1. Quit printing out these other cheap knockoffs. Give me like what I wanted.
Bro,
that's it.
I was just following Yuga's blueprint. Like, come on, that's not my fault. Like, I was just copy trading someone else.
Dr. Diablo, welcome up, man. How's it going?
Hey, how are you? Yes, I just wanted to be part of the 69th weekly alpha. Congratulations, by the way, on the number. It's been an amazing ride. I try to listen in when I can and join in when I can. And talking about what you were saying about seasons and series, my greatest disappointment was probably Walking Dead or The Walking Dead. Um, I stopped watching. Like I don't know what season I stopped watching, but I just said, okay, I've had enough of this. It was some of the, I think he was called Negan or whatever, the guy with the bat. Um, I just say, I mean, this is too much. Every end of season was just a cliffhanger, a terrible one, and they just didn't move on. I mean, this is
Amen,
why.
man. The Walking Dead is the perfect example of this. Yes. Where I think I got myself through like 6.5 seasons of it. And after that, it was too much. It was too much. How many ways can you walk through some type of abandoned forest and discover a new safety structure that you're going to be a dumbass about and let collapse, and then find like a new antagonist that, oh, they're after the same safe structure that you got. All of a sudden, they just decided this was the spot they wanted to be. And, these people move like 2 miles per, or 2 feet per minute. Yet somehow they are able to take all of the, like, there are just so many inconsistencies with it that just don't make sense. Yet they continue to drag it out and drag it out. And I don't know how many seasons they came out with, but like, could not get myself to finish that.
The
Yeah,
Walking
me
Dead
neither.
is like the Call of Duty video games. It's just the re-release every season of the same damn multiplayer, just in a different font and shade on the screen. And it's the same exact plot over and over and over again for like what, however many seasons. I think I only got through like 4 seasons of it, and I was like, I couldn't do anymore.
I didn't know if you guys were describing the NFT space or Walking Dead.
The similarities between the both.
Yeah, little bit of everything in '80s. You know how it goes. Welcome back, man. Welcome back, legend. Good to see you again.
Appreciate you, man. Missed all of you guys, gals, Wonky fam. Much love. It's been a while.
So, are you officially stateside again?
Yeah, I am. I don't feel like it 100%. I still feel like I'm in another dimension, but trying to make sense of being back in the States. But yeah, I'm here, man. Back home, back with the wife, puppies. Got my toilet I can shit on. Nice hot shower, my Tempur-Pedic. All's good, man.
Yeah, that is like everything that you could ask for and more. But the question being, are there any of those creature comforts that you come back to that you've abstained from that you're like, no, you know what? I could shit in my toilet, but like there's this spot in the backyard. I'm used to this. I'm just kidding. Like, God, no, please say that's not the one. But
Actually,
like, are there any creature comforts that you've decided that you're just gonna go without after your time in Peru coming back?
yeah, it hasn't hit me too hard yet. I have been peeing in my backyard because we have to water the plants a little bit. But other than that, it's been pretty good, man. The the one thing about being back though, it's coming back into Twitter. That's maybe one of the attributes that I need to do a little less of. It's been quite a lot to come back into once you're pulled out of that atmosphere, that environment, and then you're kind of like thrown back into it or trying to attempt to come back into it. It's it's a lot, man. It's a lot for a person.
Yeah, I can blame that fully on Rooster. I understand.
I could blame it on Rooster too, and I could actually blame a couple other things on Rooster. I found the old clip of our Room 110, our last Room 110 space we did before I went to Peru, and Rooster called it, man. He goes, "You're gonna come back. Crypto's gonna be banned in the United States of America. Everything's gonna go to shit." Here we are.
Well, hey, we've got the BlackRock news going for us. But, the one thing about the BlackRock news, I love it. I'm hyped about it because, I've read they've got a 99.8% success rate. They own everybody in the government already. They're like, there's no way they don't get approved, right? But most likely that won't line up and actually get into process, I think, until like mid next year is when it would actually come out. So, point being, leading into that, perfect timing, aligning with like the next halving cycle. So, you're talking about bullish catalysts for the next halving and for next year leading into it. Boom, dude, like that hypes me up.
Yeah, a lot of stuff hypes me up that I've been reading too, but we'll see how everything goes. And as long as we stay convicted, as long as we stay consistent with our mindset and adopt that lion mentality, man, nothing's going to stop us with this. I mean, it's inevitable, right?
Yeah, the same people who were buying all the single family homes, during 2008 and shit, are now buying all your cryptos at these levels. So maybe sit on that for a little bit. Don't sell these motherfuckers your Ethereums and your Bitcoins.
Do you think this is like a necessary thing to happen though? I mean, we get to a point where we're so euphoric for years and we're holding on to this, that, and the other and speculating out of our ass to the point where we don't know what we're talking about half the time. But then when we just take a step back, when this massive bombardment of FUD or whatever, of just, chaotic nature hits us, it's like we had that opportunity now to.
The Mayans just rugged you. But what I will say is that is it a necessary step? No, right? Like Bitcoin doesn't need an ETF to be successful and to be what it was designed to be, obviously. Is it something that obviously helps with general adoption, helps with, open up a floodgates of new money to be able to easily invest into the space? Yes. And when you look at like Bitcoin being the king of the space and kind of driving interest across the board, I obviously think that anything that opens up a new gate to be able to add more capital in the space, basically it bleeds into everywhere else, right? Like as Bitcoin goes, the money from that bleeds down to the rest of the ecosystem. So I definitely think that it's something that is net bullish, but, not necessary. Something that can be good, but isn't 100% necessary. The one catch 22 is, again, you're looking at like most likely the way something like this is going to be structured, a very centralized holder of a large portion. And do I think anything crazy is going to happen to BlackRock near term? No, but they don't necessarily have control of the network. They just have a large control of the underlying asset. But spot ETF is definitely bullish.
Sorry I didn't bring back a 5-floor ETH or 5 ETH floor for you guys, man. I was trying my hardest. I know I got you guys up to 0.2, but maybe next year. Maybe next year.
Oh, it's all good, man. It'll, everything happens when the time is right. Everything happens when the time is right, dude. We just like last year. We just vibe through the chop. There has been. The crazy thing is, again, stonks have just kind of like chopped in the same range throughout the past X amount of months. But like, there have been some absolute blood in the trenches in the NFT space. There are a lot of projects that I think are really, really struggling, coming off some really high highs. And, it's tough, I think, coming back from that. Whereas, just kind of consolidating in a range, like, dude, the vibe just is what it is, right? Like, the general thesis for me for this NFT space in general is you just have to basically survive, keep a thriving community, keep a pulse until you hit the next real high volume cycle for the space. And then everything from there takes care of itself naturally, right? Up until then, like you even look at it right now. Hey, like back to a 0.2 floor, like, it's a few ETH, right? It's nothing crazy. You look at like back to a new all-time high. When you're talking about numbers like that, you're starting to say, oh, like $100,000 worth of ETH. Like it's nothing insane when you're talking about like the millions and millions of people that will flood back into this space. And that like I still think that there is a massive value for having something that is different in the space, right? For that type of art, for that type of bridge and that type of community, like I really think the stonks are one of those things that speak for themselves when the time is right. So like, everything else until then is just a vibe, no stress one way or the other.
You mentioned the vibe part, and that's, the foundation of what Wonky Stonks is built on. This entire community is vibes. I mean, that was vibe. We vibe and vibe harder. And when you take yourself out of the Wonky Stonk community, or like as a founder of Wonky Stonks, how do you think that a project can sustain that long-term ecosystem of good vibes if there's so much psychological bombardment happening within the space, within their project, failed promises, this, that, and the other? Like, how do you correlate that between the vibes and between reality at that point?
Well, I honestly think there are only so many failed promises that any project can survive. So yeah, the more promises that you give, the lower chance you have of survival with something like that. So I think that's what we're seeing across the space right now, where there are a lot of projects that are dying off. It's because there was this expectation that was set that just hasn't been met, right? And maybe it came from a good intention from the founders to begin with, but it was something that was unrealistic. It was a bigger milestone than what they had really anticipated going into it. And because of that, like maybe it's been delayed, just kicked down the road, but one way or the other, whether it's the timeline or the actual deliverable, they overpromised. And I think that's difficult to come back from. So as far as that, I think that if a project really is in that type of position, at that point, they don't need to just achieve their original promises. They need to over deliver if they want a chance of having a pulse and coming back. Either that, or maybe you are able to swing some type of a pivot to more reasonable expectations. And it's just an understanding of, hey, this is a long, slow, steady process to get back. And I respect anybody that's in that boat too. But one way or the other, I think in that type of scenario, it's really difficult for a lot of these. So that's why I think, again, it's kind of a blessing and a curse for some of these super high ETH projects that started off super high, because the expectations that they set for themselves going forward from that, really difficult to maintain. So, again, that's another reason why I've honestly loved the position of where the stonks are, as far as, what type of price, affordability, everything else that they have for the average person in crypto entering into it. Because I think it's one of those things that it does help set up a really healthy foundation going forward from there.
You hit the nail on the head, man. And it's that expectations part of it too, right? Being back for a couple of days, just observing the space, talking to a couple people, and I have this image in my mind of it's, Woodstock, right? But it's 2023 and everybody from all over the world is coming for this one grand big concert, and then no artists show up and everybody's just left there just, with their thumb up their ass. And that's what I kind of feel like a lot of people are at right now. And they're looking for you and thought leaders and other people like yourself for guidance. And they want to know, they want to feel comfort, right? But that's hard to do in this type of environment. So you really have to have that conviction. You really have to have that strength within to persevere through the challenges and the storms that we encounter all the time.
100%, man. So, yeah, I think that's all a big part of it. But, dude, I think the bigger thing, too, is just having a longer-term mindset with everything with this, right? And, again, that was what more so my tweet, long tweet the other day was about, is just, hey, right now, one way or the other, it's about having a long-term mindset. Where I am super, super, super giga bullish, and where I always have been, is for next year entering into it, man. And anything else that we get this year, cherry on top, right? Hey, if we go any higher than where we are right now, that exceeds expectations, and that's amazing, right? I think that now is an amazing time to be stacking, because there's so many people that are calling for the death of crypto, for the death of NFTs. For a lot of these regulatory and other FUD reasons that are out there. And usually, man, when you see the most headlines about the death of something in this space, in retrospect, has ended up being an incredible opportunity to stack at those levels. So I really think we're there right now, and it fires me up, honestly. From that perspective, I'm as bullish as I've ever been right now, right? And I think that you would be a fool not to be accumulating at these levels, because it's just one of those things where the more that you understand the tech, the more that you see the progress across the board, and you see what's happening, across everything else in the world, all of these other things that we have had recently, even little things like the banking crisis that we had in the US, little things like that, they start to add up, and it adds more conviction for why, Bitcoin in general is necessary, for why the crypto space as a whole, is something that is going to be an integral part of our lives going forward. So yeah, man, I am hyped right now, as bullish as I've ever been toward that side of it.
I did want to shoot out a couple shout outs too. Went back in some of the chats and read some stuff, and my man Lumber has just pulled through a lot for this community and given those giveaways out, man. That's really big. Lander has been a beast, and on Twitter, just a lot of the people in this community have just started stepping up into leadership roles, and it speaks volumes for what the Wonky Stonks are, for a human being to come in and want to try to step up and show leadership and show that enthusiasm for the community. So I'm happy to see that part and that aspect of it still thriving and continue to thrive. So much love to the Wonky Stonks community. Much love to the people that are stepping up and keeping it alive, man. Did we lose you, Kay?
Hey, 80s. That's nice of you to say, but I just feel like, just being part of the community, I guess. Shit.
That's what it's all about, Lumber, man. It's all about sharing the vibe, sharing the energy with one another, and just being human beings. I know we are all anons on here, and we try to, hide our identities, but you cannot deny